Hey there, this is Dr. Evan Oster with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Welcome to this edition of Integrative Movement Insider, coming to you live from Santa Barbara, California, where Janice and I just finished up our 2-day coaching session with our coaches. And as we've been talking about, coaching is the #1 way to dramatically change your business. We're super excited to learn with so many high-performing individuals and our coaches as well, and really learn what's working best. And one of the biggest take-home messages from this 2-day coaching that Janice and I are taking away is #1 is to really value yourself. Value the skill set and your mindset and what you bring to your clients. And don't apologize for what you charge for your services. Because when you think about what we do as health and fitness professionals, what you do is you really change people's lives. And you do it through proper movement, through education, through who you are as a person, what you bring to that individual, how you empower them, how you inspire them. So don't devalue that, because why are we charging so much less than lawyers? We have lawyers that write contracts for us or review our contracts. They're charging $500, $1,000 an hour, and they're charging by the minute. It's not like if you do 5 minutes, they give it to you for free. No, they're charging for the 5 minutes of their time. So they value their time. Lawyers and doctors value their time and what they're worth. You and I need to value our time and what we're worth as well. So we're working on that, and that's some of the work we need to do ourselves, and it's also part of our homework when we get back home, is to start to change our pricing structure for our brick and mortar business and how we structure our prices and how we value ourselves. And that's really what it comes down to. Now, on to today's topic. In this 4-part series of Integrative Movement Insider, we're talking about the glutes and how to get your clients to activate their glutes at a deeper level and a more functional level. In part 1 that I shared with you on Tuesday, we discussed how squeezing the glutes will disrupt optimal alignment and control of the hip, as well as the pelvis, low back, and even put more additional stress upon the knee. Today, I want to talk about the lunge, and the actual lunge, not the split squat version of the lunge. Well, actually, I should say we'll talk about the split squat version, because a lot of people call the lunge, what I'm going to show you here in a moment, as a lunge, and it's really not a lunge, it's a split squat. It's basically just you're squatting, but you're just not moving. Lunge is where you're actually stepping and then coming back. We'll talk more about that next week, the lunge itself. Let's talk about the split squat, because most of us learn a split squat, which, like I said, is oftentimes called the lunge, as a very traditional bodybuilding type movement, where the body stays vertical to the ground, I should say perpendicular to the ground, and you just move up and down in this manner. How we train our clients is we create that hip hinge, and that's why we talked in the first part of the series about how important that hip hinge pattern is, because the hip hinge pattern allows a client to put their body in a position that optimally lengthens and loads the posterior hip complex, so the glutes, the external hip rotators, and the hamstrings. So that way the client is biasing their glutes even in a knee dominant pattern, like I'm going to demonstrate here, the split squat. We'll also, as the client comes up, we're not having them come up, straight vertical. We're going to have them move as if they're moving forward. So we have them lower with a hip hinge, so they're loading up the posterior hip complex, and then we have them lift as if they're going to move themselves forward, which will help bias the glute and turn a relatively knee dominant exercise into a more hip dominant exercise. So I'm not sure how the volume will pick up. I'll step away from the video so you can see how we teach our clients to do this pattern. I'll show you both the traditional split squat or a lunge, and then I'll also show you how we modify the split squat for our own clients and patients to improve how they activate their glutes. So you see, in the first version was a very traditional, what people call that lunge or the split squat with a very vertical up and down sort of motion. It's a very good quad dominant exercise, not a great glute exercise. With a simple modification of creating the hip hinge, the anterior pelvic rotation, you can turn a relative knee dominant pattern into a more hip dominant pattern, get your clients to learn how to eccentrically lengthen the glutes, hamstrings, and posterior hip complex so that they have improved glute activation because they're lengthening the glutes, they're preloading the glutes, so then now the glutes can work to lift the client up out of that position. Just with a simple modification of that anterior pelvic rotation of the entire thoracolpelvic cylinder over top the stationary front leg. Dramatically improves glute activation, lengthening of the posterior hip complex, as well as taking stress off the low back, pelvis, and knee. This is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. So next week we'll be at Perform Better, sharing these exact strategies of how to improve glute function, psoas function, so your clients improve core stability, hip function, knee function, and get to a higher level of performance with less tightness, discomfort, and a more optimal and efficient strategy. Make it a great weekend, and if you're looking for coaching, be sure to check out our programs. We have a 3-day corrective exercise instructor introduction to the integrative movement system course. We also have our intensive course, which is the most complete course to teach you anatomy, biomechanics, corrective exercise, and motor control, and how to integrate these concepts so that you assess your clients, use corrective exercise strategies to create more optimal and efficient habits, and then teach them how to integrate these concepts into their functional movement patterns, and also help you attract more individuals that want, need, and more importantly, most importantly I should say, will pay you for your expertise. Make it a great weekend. Make yourself better at everything you do. Keep your mindset right. Value what you're worth, and we'll see you next week. Take care.